No, not yet. How many years you been here?
Too long. First of all, Bill, I want to thank you for the 5 wonderful years that you've given us. You've really lifted this office to where none of us ever would have thought it could have gone. And you've been just tremendous in changing the whole landscape, providing legal defense services for the indigent.
Thank you.
And so I couldn't agree with you more about the Harrell Herring problem, that we need to have all of the counties on an equal footing. This is a disservice to all of the counties. This is really what some of my colleagues can call an unfunded mandate. And it's an unfunded mandate for legal services that are required by the Constitution of the United States of America. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the bill that I introduced last year, that OCA program bill, to transfer authority to approve Bar Association plans for the operation of an assigned counsel program of conflict defender from the Chief Administrator of the courts to your office, to the Office of Indigent Defense Services, with the statutory mission to make sure that we have quality 18B, as we call it, services provided for indigent defendants. And I think I know the answer, but do you support this legislation?
Oh, certainly we do, and really this has been, you know, kind of an understanding with OCAs since our probably first year. The OCA responsibility goes back to the day when there was no state agency with the expertise or the resources to undertake this responsibility. And I know there is a big backlog of county conflict defender plans that have been sitting with OCA, essentially waiting for the day when we can take over that responsibility. We're ready, willing, and able.
Okay. And I guess you would agree that that would enhance your ability to provide quality 18B services to indigent
Yes, absolutely, in
defendants.
continuation of our partnership with the counties and the providers.
That would be great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Senator Ruth Yassel Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And by the way, before I finish, I just want to congratulate Assemblywoman Fahey and Assemblyman McDonald for introducing that bill in the Assembly to actually bring us into the 21st century and providing legal services for indigents throughout the state of New York.
I join you in that. I just had the pleasure of reading Assemblyman McDonald's, I think it was the blog in the Times-Union, that was very eloquent.
Thank you. Senator?
Thank you. I was afraid you'd moved into my time.
We know better. We know better than that.
No, I don't have a lot of questions. Most of them you answered. And as I was trying to read quickly through your presentation, some of the answers are there. I too would like to congratulate you, Mr. Leahy, for an extraordinary 5 years. It was a struggle, and we got a lot of pushback, but I appreciate your tenacity, and certainly the fact that you were one of the first ones here today and still here to give your testimony is just a statement of how tenacious you are about something that you really care about and believe in. And so I just wanted you to know that I appreciate that. As we began to talk before Harrell Herring was settled, we had an idea of what the 5 counties' issues were in terms of their backlog. What's your sense of the backlog for the 52 counties that we're now that'll be phase 2 of our next struggle, I suppose?
Well, I think in general, you can say that the average situation in the 52 counties is slightly worse than the situation was in New York City when this legislature came to the rescue of New York City in 2009. In other words, the average weighted caseload in our most recent upstate caseload report, 616 cases among institutional providers. It was around 582, I believe, in New York City back in 2009.
2 years ago, we went to Washington, D.C. For the anniversary of Gideon, and we were deeply concerned about civil legal services as well, but just making sure that people who come to court are represented. But we came back really looking at this thing and saying, it's wonderful to have all these attorneys and have all these laws on the books, but without the case caps and some of the other pieces that we've added to it, most of the attorneys were showing up in court with a folder and saying, plead out, because I don't have time to study it. You know, I just have a caseload that's unbelievable. Are you telling me that that's what's going on now in the 52 counties?
Back when I was serving in Massachusetts, I was quoted as saying that control of caseloads is the sine qua non of good representation. You can't have good representation without controlled caseloads, no matter how good of a lawyer you are, no matter how much you care. So your point is an excellent one.
Right. Well, again, I would like to be sure that the fact that this budget is flat is going to give you, number one, what you need to satisfy Harold Herring, and number two, that this level budget will not have a negative impact on your goals for 15-16.
Well, as I say, we need help from the legislature, and we will need help from the governor at the table to achieve some progress for the upstate counties. I mean, all that we have right now, in fact, we have the threat where some counties, we have 25 counties right now who are participating in our Council at First Appearance grant program. The 3 years of that program comes due at about the end of this year. So we will be putting out a new RFP. Now, there is $800,000 in the governor's budget to protect the 4 out of the 5 lawsuit counties, to hold them harmless so that they're participating in that, among the 25 counties in that Council at Arraignment program. So if they were to be unsuccessful in their effort, but the point is there's only $4 million in that fund. And without support from the legislature, we know that now that all counties do understand, they didn't 5 years ago, that there is a legal right to representation. This is not just some liberal idea. This is the law. And everybody knows it now. And so we expect the other 32 counties will be coming in. So, you know, the $4 million that's being used now, not only does it only cover 25 counties, but it only covers portions of those counties. So the need is great. I mean, we requested $8 million additional. We know that economies can be made, and we're working with OCA to come up with a potential legislative solution that would allow for centralizing arraignments maybe in 1 or 2 locations in rural counties rather than 30 or 40 as at present, which I think everybody could get behind, and I think everybody would be enthusiastic about it. And I think it is underway. We hope to have it here in this session. But still, there's an undeniable cost to providing a lawyer at arraignment, just there is with providing a lawyer anywhere.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Director, for being here today. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is excuse me, Robert Timbection, Administrator of the New York City Office of the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct. Welcome, Administrator. And my first question is,
yes, you
how badly did I
correctly.
butcher your name?
You got it exactly right.
Exactly right. Wow.
Yes, thank you.
Happy to hear that.
My mother would be pleased if you would come to dinner. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the Budget Committee here about the executive recommendation for the Commission on Judicial Conduct.
Could you pull your mic a little bit closer,
yes,
please?
Happy to.
Thank you.
As you know, the Commission is created in the state constitution. We are the entity of government that is responsible for enforcing judicial ethics on the 3,500 members of the state judiciary. We are not an executive agency, but our budget is submitted to the legislature in the executive budget with a recommendation by the governor, so that the judiciary would not be in a position to control the commission's budget. That decision was made at the commission's inception about 40 years ago. For the 6th year in a row, the executive budget is recommending a flat budget for the commission, not 1 penny more. Over the last 6 or 7 years, the economies that we have been required to initiate in order to live within the constraints of the budget that has been recommended by the governor has resulted in a reduction of our staff by about 18%, from 55 authorized full-time employees to 45 actual full-time employees. Now, unlike any other executive budget recommendation, certainly if we're thinking or talking about executive agency heads, I would not be in a position to come before you and disagree with the executive budget recommendation. But because the commission is an independent entity in the state constitution, I can, and I have in the past, asked the legislature for help where the executive budget has tended to treat us with some benign neglect. And the legislature has come through 3 times since 2007. I have asked for help from the legislature, and you have come through each time. This would be the 4th time that I'm doing it. I'm asking for an additional $186,000 so that we can maintain the status quo, not have to reduce staff any further, not have to reduce our services any further in order to stay where we are now. That number, it seems to me, pales in significance to the overall state budget, certainly, and it pales in significance compared to what we have heard other agencies testify as to what the Division of Budget is able to do when they determine that agencies ought to be helped in the executive budget to fulfill their mission. The reduction in staff, the reduction in services has meant that it takes longer to discipline judges who are found guilty of misconduct, which is a disservice to the public interest, and it means that it takes longer for us to exonerate those judges who have been wrongly accused, which is disrespectful to the independence of the judiciary and to the individual judges who have to endure investigation for longer periods than is right or fair. We're not asking for much. And in an era when enhanced public interest has been demonstrated in ethics in government, with a commission that is arguably the most effective ethics enforcer in the state. In 40 years, the commission has handled over 52,000 complaints of misconduct. We have initiated 10,000 preliminary inquiries. We have conducted 8,000 full-fledged investigations, and we have publicly disciplined 801 judges, including 224 who have been removed from office or publicly stipulated to permanent resignation because of misconduct. That is an exemplary record that is being threatened or challenged by inappropriately low levels of funding. As I said, I'm not asking for much help. $186,000, which would bring our overall budget up to $5.77 million, is really a drop in the bucket compared to the $140-some-odd billion state budget. And in a time when revenue expenditures or revenue projections are going up, when executive agencies have been asked to limit their growth to 2%, the fact that we're not getting 1 penny more from the executive budget seems to me to be unfair, unnecessary, and unduly inhibiting in our ability to fulfill our mission. So, again, as I have in the past with success, asked for your help. I'm asking for it again here. I don't think it is too much or should be too difficult. But I am aware that there is a lot of competition for, as high as it is, a relatively finite amount of money, and I'm hoping that the legislature will, as it has before, consider judicial ethics enforcement to be an important priority for the state, and to augment with relatively little what we need to just keep the status quo and stop the growing backlog and the decline of our services.
Thank you, Administrator Tembeckjian.
You're
I
very
said it right
welcome,
again,
Senator
right?
Young. Thank you.
So two. Senator Kruger.
Thank you again for your testimony this year. You're right, your ask seems so minimal. It's actually a little shocking that you don't get the same formula percentage increase that we're seeing for other agencies. So I empathize with your being the, I guess, I don't know, the orphan child.
Yes, exactly right.
I'm just curious that we do keep increasing the number of judges in New York State, and many people who participate on these panels would argue we don't have enough of them yet. If you were listening earlier today, there was much discussion about backlogs. So it seems to me, by definition of having busier courts and more judges on some formula, there would be more complaints brought to you, not necessarily because of the quality of our judges per se, but just statistically based on the potential for problems that need to be investigated and addressed. Can you tell me sort of where you are in relationship to a growth in the judiciary over the last few years?
Last year we received 1,958 new complaints. That is the second highest in our history. And at the same time, our backlog grew at year end by about 25%. We went from 171 at the end of 2014 to 204 at the end of last year. We reduced our staff by 1 again last year, as we had for the previous 4 years, so that the number of judges is increasing, as you say, the number of complaints that we're receiving is increasing, but the resources are staying static. As you know, a flat budget is really a cut. If we need $186,000 just to meet our additional rent expenses and other contractual obligations and don't get it, it means that we have to reduce our current budget, which is just a little under $5.6 million, by that $186,000. Somehow I've got to find it. And the only way we've been able to do that in the last 5 years has been through the attrition of staff, not replacing some people who have left, or, and this is good budgeting, when someone at a senior level leaves, if we can replace them with someone more junior and save some money that way, we have always done that. But our workload is increasing, and the time it's taking us to do that job is also increasing because the budget is not proportionately increasing.
Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much. I don't believe the Assembly has any questions for you, so you did a very thorough job, Administrator Tembeckjian.
Thank you very much.
Now, I said it correctly, I believe, 3 times.
3 for 3, Senator Young.
Does that qualify me for a movie with that dinner?
That breakfast, lunch, and dinner. One
Okay,
apiece.
thank you very much. And thank you for being here today. Our next speaker, and again, I'd like to remind people, just for the sake of time, and I apologize, it's 6 o'clock now, but we would welcome President Tom Mungier, the Police Benevolent Association of the New York State Troopers. So thank you very much, and we look forward to what you have to say. And we also appreciate you sticking with us for so long.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Distinguished members of the legislature, it's an honor. This is my 7th year in a row addressing you. I'm just going to hit some very quick points. I'm sure you'll relieved to hear that. Listening to my superintendent, I'm not privy to some of the stuff, recent conversations he had with budget, but I am relying on the governor's executive budget in regards to rifles and cars. This past year, we've been through a lot. We went over it before with Clinton County, Dannemora prison break, the ratcheting up of terrorist threats. There's never any lack of missions for my troopers to do. On top of that, in the last 10 years, I've suffered 18 line-of-duty deaths, so it is a dangerous job. And I appreciate everybody's support up here in the legislature, giving us the necessary tools. Those tools, number one, are vehicles. Superintendent indicated that he should be fine with the replacement of the vehicles. Currently, we have 50% of the vehicles that are over 100,000 miles. I do agree with him on that. But in the governor's executive budget, only $15 million was allocated to replace those vehicles. In my math, anyway, we're going to need another $20 million. I know that kind of shocking compared to the last guy who wanted $186,000, but we're looking for $20 million to bring it up and replace these vehicles. We're going from high speeds up 0 to 100, back down to 0 all day, and it's a lot of wear and tear. Other than that, manpower. Last 7 years, I've harped that we need more manpower. It's getting a lot better. In the governor's budget, their allocation for 210 bodies. There is an academy class they're planning for next month, but there is not enough for 2 classes. Again, I'm not privy to the conversation the superintendent has had, but it's absolutely necessary that we have 2 classes of at least 150 troopers to take care of the attrition and also the expanded duties that we're given every day. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Gallivan?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. President, welcome again. Thanks for the work that you and your members do.
Thank you, Senator.
You touched the superintendent. A number of us spoke with the superintendent, and his testimony spoke of the rifles and vehicles. I would just ask that if you have follow-up with the superintendent, there appears to be a little bit of difference. He did mention $30 million. I don't know if that's from money that's in this year's budget somewhere else.
Yeah,
versus the 15 you just mentioned. But just if we need to do work on it, let's just be sure to follow up over the course of the next several weeks as we go through the process.
I do have many conversations with the superintendent in any given week, and again, what's black and white is the $15 million. Right. Whatever conversations he's had with budget, it is not reflected in the governor's executive budget. So we have to.
Understood, but he spoke fairly confidently that it was going to get done. But we just want to make sure that it is done before we vote on a budget.
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All set? Well, I think we're all set, but on behalf of me, I just want to say, and my colleagues, I want to say how much we appreciate the jobs that your members do every single day, standing up and protecting the public. They have very difficult circumstances sometimes, but they're professional, and we truly value what they do. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Our next speaker is President Christopher Quick, New York State Police Investigators Association. And behind President Quick is,
good evening.
One second, President Mike Powers from NYSCOBA. So, good evening. Welcome.
Evening. Thank you. Good evening, Senate and Assembly members. I am Christopher Quick, an investigator with the New York State Police, and I also serve as president of the New York State Police Investigators Association, otherwise known as NYSPIA. NYSPIA is the employee union that represents 1,086 state police senior investigators and investigators throughout the state. State police investigators are assigned to stations or special details and are referred to as the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, or BCI. Our investigators work on everything from larcenies, robberies, burglaries, identity theft, sex crimes, and homicides. We also have investigators assigned to special details, including computer crimes, forensics, narcotics, auto theft, special investigations, dignitary protection, gaming, and counterterrorism. The most public example of some of the work we do was our investigation into the escape of the 2 inmates from Clinton Correctional Facility this past June. Our investigators worked around the clock for 22 days, gathering and analyzing evidence that would ultimately lead to an end to the manhunt without any member of the public being harmed. Demand on the resources of state police, particularly investigators, has increased, whether it's to keep up with the background checks for casinos being built in New York State or keeping the public safe in the face of the changing world we live in involving terrorism and mass attacks on the public. To ensure the safety of New Yorkers and its visitors, we must have the proper equipment and manpower. One area in particular that is the utmost important is our aging fleet, as you've heard earlier today, of our unmarked vehicles. The BCI fleet is currently numbered at 1,177 vehicles. There are 688 vehicles with more than 100,000 miles. That's 58% of the BCI fleet. There are 755 vehicles that are 7 years or older, and 165 of them are 10 years or older. Due to the age of our fleet, we have experienced a number of mechanical, electrical, and structural damage to the vehicles, including brake lines rusting through, causing loss of brakes, loss of headlights due to electrical wiring that's become corroded, and rusting of integral structural components that make up the body or unibody of the vehicle. The results could have been catastrophic to the member or the public, or both. We are lucky no one was injured, but it is a risk we should not have to take. Many of our investigators perform undercover operations. In these cases, our investigators need to blend in with the community, both in disguise and with their vehicles. These undercover operations can range from drug surveillance to counterterrorism investigation. The criminal element does its homework, and many are aware of the type of undercover vehicles we typically use. For that reason, we propose a pilot program to allow for the leasing of vehicles for these special details. A leased vehicle will allow our investigators many more choices of diverse makes and models, and most importantly, non-police type vehicles for undercover work. Leasing vehicles will also help reduce the high maintenance costs we currently experience. In addition to the desperate need for more unmarked vehicles, the Division of State Police must be made whole again in terms of manpower in order to meet today's security threats. Terrorism in the United States is on the rise. The governor recognizes this and has dedicated a significant uniformed trooper presence in New York City as a result. Superintendent D'Amico has repeatedly stressed and fought for the need to have recruit basic school classes at our academy to bolster the needs of the division. We have not been able to keep up with the attrition. We strongly urge this legislature to ensure our investigators are safe, as well as the public, by adequately funding the Division of State Police to allow for the purchase of unmarked vehicles and other necessary safety equipment, as well as funding new and regular academy classes so we can accomplish our core mission of protecting and serving the people of this great state. I appreciate your time, allowing me to give testimony, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Senator Gallivan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. President, thanks for your testimony, for the work you do, and your members as well. I want to focus on the cars. We understand the message on manpower. It's been a consistent message along with the PBA and the superintendent. When the superintendent testified, the talk was about vehicles in general, without a breakdown between marked cars and unmarked vehicles. Is it your understanding, if you know it all, when the superintendent was talking about the plan to replace cars, that included all vehicles, or was he just talking uniform vehicles, marked vehicles, rather?
No, he included officers' vehicles, and once the officer vehicles that are unmarked, that would be the remedy to push the cars down the line into the back rooms and special details.
Have you had conversations with him? Is the plan that he put forward, is it adequate to meet the needs of your members?
Can you repeat that again?
When the superintendent testified about his plan over the next year or two to replace those vehicles, does that satisfy the needs of your investigators?
It does,
the plan that he put forward.
And the consideration of leasing the unmarked cars that would give a more diverse choice would be an instant remedy to get more cars into the field right away versus ordering a fleet of cars and waiting 6 months down the road.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay.